Have you tried CTC Math yet with your child? Here's a testimonial from another happy homeschool mom. Amber said, "I'm absolutely thrilled with CTC Math. It's a rare find that I've used with my children for more than 5 years now. I have 6 children using CTC Math, and each child has found it easy to navigate and very applicable. I love seeing them enjoy this math program and grow in their mathematical journey. Thank you so much for all that you are doing in providing quality math lessons for my children." If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com. That's ctcmath.com. Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. I am back today with Abinella, and we are having such a great conversation. We're talking about the movie Schoolhouse Rocked, the homeschool revolution. I am so excited. I literally cannot wait for you guys to see this movie. Not because it's a movie that our family has made, but because God's hand is all over it. And it's just been incredible to see his hand at work over the past few years. And you're going to see that when you watch the interviews, you're going to just see how God just spoke through these people. As a matter of fact, this is really funny. What was it? Almost 2 summers ago. It was exactly 2 summers ago. It was 2 years ago exactly that we were in Washington filming.
Well, actually in Idaho. It'll be 2 years next week.
Will it be 2 years next week? Okay, you're right. So it was the end of June.
Yeah.
You're right.
So then you went right from here.
And then we went from Idaho. We took this big cross-country trip to finish filming. And we went from Georgia to Washington to finish filming the movie with Heidi St. John. And we stopped along the way. We took a detour to see Abby and her family, which was amazing. That is actually the only time that you and I have ever met in person. But
I know.
I feel like we
crazy?
hang out all the time. It's kind of weird.
It feels like it. It does. It feels like it.
It's bizarre. Anyway.
It's still not good enough. It's
not good enough. I know, which is why I got to get you to move to Oklahoma. But we'll talk about that later.
Show.
But we were in Washington filming with Heidi, and I'm not sure if I've told this story on the podcast, but I'm going to tell it anyway again because it was so powerful. So we had been filming for about 2.5 weeks with Heidi and her family, and not every single day, but most days, whether it was kind of behind the scenes footage or interviews or whatnot. And it was our very last day of filming, and Heidi had already done her part of the movie, her interview, and it was my turn to kind of do my part of the narrative. And it was what Garrett needed for the very end of the movie. And so we were exhausted, all of us. We were just so exhausted. And Garrett saying, okay, this is what I'm looking for. And I knew the message that he was trying to get across, but for some reason I could not deliver this message. I just couldn't do it. And none of it was scripted. So it's not like I could memorize a script and then deliver it. But for some reason, I could not get out what it was that he needed and what I knew he needed. So he looked at Heidi, and Heidi's sitting across the table from me. And he said, "Heidi, you know where I'm going with this, right?" And she said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "Can you deliver it?" And she said, "I think I can." And she kind of paused for a minute, and she said, "Okay, I'm ready. I've got this." And he rolled cameras, and she delivered the last 3 minutes of the movie. And I cannot even, it was shocking, the words that came out of her mouth, because she's such a great communicator anyway, but it was like she literally summed up every bit of what we wanted for this movie in a few minutes perfectly. And I'm not kidding. It was literally like the Holy Spirit just came down and spoke straight through her mouth. And it was so funny because at the very end, she stopped speaking and Garrett goes, "Gosh, darn it, Heidi, that was amazing." And he actually scared both of us because he was in tears.
That's it.
And that was it. And he said, "That's a wrap. We're done."
Wow.
And at this point now we're all crying, and we were just like, yeah. And it was amazing to just see God at work. And so when you guys see the end of the movie, that is probably my favorite. It is my favorite part of the whole movie.
I was going to ask you your favorite, but that was it.
Oh, that's it.
That's so awesome.
I've seen it so many times and I still can't watch it without getting emotional because it's the story. It's exactly what we needed, and not because of what we needed, but it was exactly the message that we felt like the Lord was leading up to through the whole movie. And so it was really neat. And I was so glad actually that it ended with Heidi and ended on her voice and on her face. And that's a wrap. I mean, that's the end of it. So I'm really excited for people to see that part of the movie.
It was powerful. It was so powerful. And what's amazing about the movie is, as powerful as that was, every person, the cast of this movie, it was phenomenal. I mean, every person brought such a strong and powerful and encouraging message. And then to have it wrapped up at the end like that, it was incredible. And another thing that Heidi said in that movie that I want to talk about a little bit is she spoke a little bit about when we, everybody wants to see the fruit of homeschooling, like right now. When you tell them you're going to homeschool, I want to see it right now. I want to know that this is working. I want to see your most incredible kids, blah, blah, blah. And she kind of gave an analogy about an apple tree farmer. Yeah. And you plant an apple tree and, nobody would come that very first year and be like, why aren't there apples? This is a waste of a farm. You're doing it wrong. Everybody knows that you plant, you wait, and the fruit comes. And she related that to homeschooling. We plant, we water, we feed, we fertilize, and then we wait, and God does the work, right? But I want to take that analogy, and I thought a lot about that as far as the movie goes. This seed was planted in your guys' hearts years ago, and it has been fertilized and watered. And we know as homeschool moms that while that tree is growing and before it bears fruit, there's often growing pains, and it's hard. And sometimes there are hard freezes and frosts and winds that come. And now we're looking at this movie, and it's like the fruit is there, like the blossom, like I can see the apple. It's not quite ready to be picked, but the movie is so close. It's there. But will you take us back a little? Because I know as your friend, and I know doing this for a few years with you, it hasn't always been easy. And there have been some deep frosts and freezes where there's been some wilty branches. But will you share with us the hardest part of this journey for you?
Oh,
don't worry, I'll ask you the best part too.
Okay. The hardest part of this journey. Man, that's a hard question, Abby. I don't know. There have been a lot of blessings for sure. But like you said, there have been a lot of hardships. I think one of them has been yes. The hardest part has been that our family has been unsettled for so long. When we left California in December of 2016, we drove out not knowing where we were going, not knowing where we were going to settle. We just drove out in faith and trusted the Lord to take us where he was going to take us. And we ended up in Georgia because we had family there. And so that's kind of where we parked for a while, but we knew we weren't going to stay there the whole time. And that was really hard for us because we felt like we couldn't really we couldn't set down roots there. And I don't know why he didn't have us to stay there, because that's where family is, but we just knew this is not where we're supposed to be. And so being unsettled for so long was really, really hard for us. And I know, what's kind of weird about that is that we were a military family. Well, actually, Garrett and I were a military couple. We didn't have kids at the beginning of our marriage when he was in the Air Force. But for the first few years of our marriage, we were military, but we never went anywhere. But I was always ready for that. I was always kind of ready for, we can go anywhere at any time. But when you bring kids into it, it's a whole different thing. And my heart goes out to military families who live a life like this, because it's really, really, really hard. And so the hardest part has been not being settled somewhere and just kind of always having that feeling of where are we going and when are we going there? And not being able to really connect with a homeschool community or a church. And we did. I mean, when we were in Georgia, we did have friends there, and we were part of American Heritage Girls, and we had a church that we attended for a little while. And so we did have some connections there.
But that's hard when you know you're not staying. It's hard to invest in lives, and it's hard for people probably to invest in you knowing you're going to be gone.
Exactly. And we're grateful for the friendships that the Lord established while we were there. And we still are friends with many of those people. But that was definitely, I think, the hardest thing. The second hardest thing, to be super transparent with you, has been just financially. It's been a really, really, really tough financial season for our family. When we came into this, we had no debt. We had just sold our house and all of our stuff. And we were only going to do this for like a year. And we had plenty of money to get us through a year of traveling and making this movie. Well, a year turned into 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a real financial burden for us. And that has been really hard. And so I think those two things coupled together have brought a lot of stress upon our family. Praise God. Garrett and I have been married for over 26 years. And so, we've been together for more than 27. And because we trust the Lord, he has gotten us through this, and our marriage hasn't struggled. I will say our girls have had a hard time with much of this just because, Brooklyn's 15 and she wants to be settled and plugged in and have friends. And now she has lots of friends scattered throughout the country, but it's really hard to have friends who are local when you're not settled anywhere.
Right.
So just friendship wise, but we're, again, the Lord is establishing friendships even now in Oklahoma where we are, and we're trusting him to do that. But that has been hard. That's been probably the hardest part of the journey. The movie itself hasn't been so hard in the making. It's been more that it's taken a long time. That has been a difficult thing for us as far as the movie is concerned. But
which now that I'm watching it, and like we said on another, go back and listen to Monday and Wednesday, because we kind of talked about how, we don't always know what and why God's doing it, but his timing is perfect. And even though it seems like it took longer than it should have, it took just the right amount of time because it's being released at the perfect time. And we talked about that. But at the same time, as I watched it, I'm like, this is quality. Like it would take it is a quality film, and you don't just whip those together. And so it's worth the wait. Let's just put it that way. So what would you say was the best and most exciting and probably most memorable when you look back on this? Because it's like the blink of an eye. When you look back someday, it feels like forever right now. But when you look back, what's going to be the most memorable and the best of this whole journey?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's take a quick break and I'll come back and answer that.
You have to think on it for a minute.
I'll think on it for a minute. We'll be right back.
What we do at IEW is break through the noise of the grammar and the writing prompts, and we say, this is what you do, step by step. And I've witnessed it over and over again, both watching Andrew teach and hearing from parents, this is the best writing program. We've made it so easy and made it really affordable. So any mom can teach writing to their children using our course, and we guarantee it.
To try 3 weeks of free lessons, visit IEW.com. We are back with Abby. So you asked me before the break, what has been
the best, most memorable? Like when you guys all look back on this in 10 years, what are you going to be like? That was awesome. The best part.
Oh, that's easy to answer. Two things. One has been the people that the Lord has brought into our lives through this movie, like you. And I don't say that to flatter you, Abby, but you and I would never have met had it not been for Schoolhouse Rocked and you reaching out and saying, hey, how can I pray for you? How can I help you? And then the Lord brought us together to co-host this podcast and, to just do ministry together. And it's been the same with several other people. I think of Ginger Hubbard and Dorinda Wilson and Connie Albers. And there are so, Heidi, I didn't know Heidi before. There are so many people that the Lord has brought into our lives because of this movie that I needed in my life, but I didn't know I needed in my life.
Right.
And so the friendships that have been established have been amazing, absolutely amazing, not just for myself, but for our family. We had a family come and visit us from North Carolina about 2 weeks ago. They drove from North Carolina to Oklahoma and they took some stops along the way, but they came out here and spent several days with us. And we met them at a homeschool conference, I think 3.5 years ago or so. And we just became friends with them. And the friendship has lasted. And it's one of those neat families that, that all the adults get along, the husbands get along, the wives get along, the kids get along. And we just really enjoy spending time with this family. And we would not have known them had it not been for this journey that the Lord has taken us on. And as part of that, my other favorite thing by far has been traveling and getting to see God's amazing creation. We have traveled now through somewhere around, 28 or 29 states as a family.
Wow.
And that's been incredible to see this country from the road. And when we lived in California, it's so funny to kind of live on one coast, because it seems like the opposite coast is so unreachable. It seems like it's so far. It always seemed to me like, well, we could never go all the way to the East Coast. Like, I mean, I had flown to the East Coast, but I could never possibly drive there. Like, that's crazy.
Right.
But this country
I
really
still feel that way.
It's not that big. And it is, but I mean, you can be from one side of the country to the other in a matter of days. And if you want to really take your time and enjoy it, you could spend, just a couple of weeks. And, we're not China. And it's, we really do have a very small land that we can explore, but it's really cool because as you go from one state to another, I mean, there are some states that literally, it's like as soon as you cross that state line, you can feel it. You're like, we're in a different place now. We are in a completely different state. We just spent some time in Texas a couple of weeks ago, and you can almost feel the difference going from Oklahoma to Texas and crossing over that state line. And so just being able to explore God's creation and we've been able to go to Mount Rushmore and the Grand Canyon and drive through the prairies of South Dakota. And I mean, it's just incredible what God has created, and he could have made it all the same, but he didn't. He made it different, and all to his glory and for his glory. But those have been my two favorite things, is the people that he's allowed us to connect with and being able to just travel this amazing country.
That's so cool. And what I think is neat is, like you said, it's so different, the vastness of our nation. And yet all these people you've connected with, so different, so much diversity. And yet our desire to follow God, to love God, and to answer the call that he's given us unites us. And that's what is so neat, is no matter where you go, you can find those people, God's people, and the people that have answered the call to teach and train up our children and the next generation. And that's what I think is, I haven't gotten to travel like you, but I've gotten to visit with a lot of the same people across the nation via this thing, which I don't love. But it is it is so neat to see how God will bring you those people everywhere. And that's the body. And that's what's so incredible. And to think that we get to spend eternity with these people is really awesome.
It really is. It really is. So you asked me, and I don't think I asked you this. You asked me what my favorite part of the movie was. I think this was actually in part 2. But I want to know, what was your favorite part of the movie?
I would say, and when you shared, you said it was like one scene. I don't have one favorite scene because there were too many. Like, I figured when I was thinking, I'm like, what's my favorite scene? I cannot pick a favorite scene, because every time I'd pick one, then I'd watch 5 more minutes and be like, wait, that's it, But I think my favorite part of this movie was how it speaks to absolutely everybody. Like I said in the first episode, I really thought it was going to be geared just towards the homeschool mom, or those that are looking to homeschool, but it is geared towards everyone. And the other thing that really hit me is, when you think of a documentary, you think of a movie that educates. And so I was going into it thinking, and not pridefully, but like, what am I going to be educated on homeschool? Like, this is what we do. This is what our world. But I realized this documentary is so unique in that it is not just educational, it is incredibly encouraging. And so even if you feel like you got homeschool dialed in, which we never really do, it is so encouraging. And I think that was my favorite part, is to see that balance of educating and encouraging, and then to see how it was just to the masses. And again, everybody loves a good cry movie, a good tearjerker, and we laughed and we cried. And it, as much of a documentary it was really entertaining too. It was just, I really enjoyed the movie a lot.
Yeah.
So
well, that's exciting to hear.
Part.
I'm glad that it's entertaining. We really worked hard to weave a narrative through the movie where it wasn't just a bunch of talking heads talking about homeschooling.
Oh, totally.
We really wanted to tell a story, because I mean, every great documentary has a story through it. It's not just a bunch of interviews. And so you'll actually, people who haven't seen it yet, when you see it, you'll see that it's really cool, because there were some spaces that needed to be filled. And we were just praying like, Lord, how do we fill this space with something? And we didn't want more video. And I'm not even sure whose idea this was, but either Garrett or I, we said, why don't we get some pictures ask some of our cast members for photos of them and their families from the past, especially the homeschool pioneers.
Right.
And
So
but
fun
some
to
of them are the
see.
more recent photos as well.
Yeah.
But we went out to several homeschool pioneers and some of our cast members and said, can you guys just send us some of your family photos? And so with Heidi, like while she's talking about putting Savannah, her oldest daughter,
Yeah.
in kindergarten, we have a picture of Savannah going to kindergarten, and
Yep. And then
just-
a picture later of Heidi's grandsons
yep.
being homeschooled by your daughter. Like it was really
Right.
fun to see that.
Right. So it's really cool because it kind of takes you back to where they were in
Yeah.
homeschooling. And so I love the photos that are
Yeah.
in the movie and
Yeah.
how you just get to see, wow, this is what they look like when they were younger, when they were little kids.
Yeah.
So
So
that
fun.
has been, that
I
was
would
a
say
really fun part
I'm
of it.
excited for what are you most excited for people to see? Like what are you most excited? Like the little like that pictures or like
I mean, that's probably not the most exciting thing. It's fun for me because I'm their mom to watch my girls when they're
Yes.
little. We have spent countless hours, it seems, because we've had to go through old footage, videos
Yeah.
and footage and things like that of our family and bring that into the movie. It's been really fun. Once you get hooked on looking at old pictures or watching old videos,
it goes all night.
I mean, you could just do it forever. And so
I wondered if you cried. You've probably watched it so many times now, but I'm like, I really have a hard time looking at old pictures of my kids because I feel like I'm mourning.
right.
I feel like I'm mourning the loss of my children. Is that weird? Because like I'll never have that little toddler again.
Right. Oh, but
we
yeah.
were laughing at Brooklyn with the chickens and how you're like,
Oh,
catch
yeah.
one, Brooklyn, and she wouldn't. And we looked at our Winnie and we're like, she would have had like 15 on her hip by that time. It's just fun to see all the kids' personalities and
Yeah.
it was a fun movie. It's a really good. I can't wait to see it again over and over and to share it with everybody.
Yeah.
And just
Well,
it was incredible what they did.
well, thank you again, all by God's grace. And speaking of sharing, this is really, really, really what we need from you guys, our listeners.
That's what we want. What can we do?
We
When
need
do we
you-
get it? That's what everybody's going to ask.
Everyone's-
When and how do we get this movie?
Oh man. Well, okay. Can I just tell you that has been one of the most frustrating questions that people have
Yes.
asked is, when is the movie going to be done? It's not one of, it is the most frustrating question. And I don't say
it.
I ask that. I'm not frustrated with the people asking it. I'm frustrated because I don't have an answer for people yet. And trust me when I say no one wants this movie done and in people's hands more than we do. Like,
That's true. I bet.
we are not delaying this movie for fun. That is for sure. It has, people have been so patient with us and we are so grateful for that. When thinking about why it's taken so long and why it hasn't come out yet, one, of course, the first answer is because it's just God's timing. But two, it literally has been basically one person, being my husband, who has done the entire job of an entire movie crew. He has been the director, he's been the producer, he's been the cameraman, he's been the grip, he's been the everything. He's been the editor. He has done almost all of the music for it. He's done all of the editing. I mean, he has done all of this himself. And so because he's done all of this and because we've had, we have kids who actually want to eat food and need clothing on their backs, because it has been basically him, and we have survived as a family off of the generosity of our listeners and supporters and a few of the sponsors that we have. He has had to do other things to make money in order for us just to survive as a family. And so that is partly why it has taken so long to get the movie done. Was basically, it's just been a financial thing. But again, I mean, it's been all in God's perfect timing, but now it's done. And because it's taken so long and we haven't had a date to tell people, this is the release date, and we still don't have a specific release date. That's all going to be dependent, of course, on bringing in more sponsors and more support to finish the color correction, which we talked about, and the rest of the music, and get through the rest of post-production, marketing, and distribution. Those all sound like really big steps, and they are really big steps, but those are, the biggest step is done now. Those things will come
those will move
quickly. And we'll be able to get it into people's hands quickly. So as people have asked that question and I haven't had an answer, that's been frustrating, but that's okay. Keep asking the question and keep praying for us. That's what I will say, is just pray that the Lord would provide what we need to get this into people's hands. But because it's taken so long, we kind of stopped. Though we've obviously kept up with the podcast, we've been pretty silent about the movie for the past probably year or so, year and a half. People haven't heard a lot about it. And that's just been because we haven't had a good answer for them as to when it was going to be done. So we really need to kind of restart that publicity engine moving, and we need people's help to do that. So what we need from you, our listeners, is we really, really need you guys to start posting on social media. Again, we will put links in these notes with the movie trailer. We actually have 2 or 3. I think we'll probably put 2 links in there to 2 of the different movie trailers, but we'll link those in there so you guys can just grab those links off of YouTube. And if you'd be willing to share those on your Facebook, Instagram pages, Twitter, whatever you guys do, that would be great.
And just say like coming soon, coming this summer, coming in 2021.
Right.
Coming,
just get people hyped up about it and share it with your people. Share the podcast with them, because as we're talking about it on the podcast and you share the podcast, then people will get the encouragement from the podcast and they'll get information on the movie. Sign up for our newsletter. Again, I can't emphasize that enough. If you want to know what's going on, if you want to have a chance to watch one of the pre-release screenings of the movie and give us your feedback, we are going to be doing that over the next couple of weeks still. We're right now going through kind of our first group of people who are doing that, and then we'll make some changes, and then we've got to take it back out to another group of people and kind of get more feedback on the movie. So if you want to be part of that, sign up for our newsletter, and we will send out information on how you might be able to see that. We obviously can't show it to everybody, but we will choose several people from several podcast listeners and people who are signed up for our newsletter to be able to do a test screening of the movie. And so we would love for you to be a part of that. So sign up for the newsletter, share on social media, pray for us, pray for our family. It's not getting much easier right now. It's going to be a race until the end, until we get this into people's hands. It's going to be hard, but we're ready for it. We are geared up for this, and we're super excited about it. And so we can't wait for you to see it.
I was thinking, okay, we're talking to a bunch of moms. It's like the baby's crowning.
Oh, I know.
It's here. Like we just went through all the labor pains, which were very painful. But like, it's like the doctor just said, I see the head.
Amen.
And so we can all really get amped up and get so excited. I've already have a list. So this is my challenge. Everybody make a list as to who you want to buy this for. I, as a co-op director, I want to buy this for all my co-op families, every new, so this is our time to get excited. Like we're like the cheering team out in the waiting room and just heard the doctor say. So we need to, send the texts, post on social media. You guys, this movie is, I haven't even talked to Yvette before this, and I'm telling you all this now. It is incredible. It is, and I mean, it is really an incredible, it's a well done, it's an encouraging, it's an educational, it's an inspiring film that is a must see and must own and must share. So,
thank you, Abby. Thank you for saying that. All for God's glory. So thank you. That is impactful to me. And let us know, you guys, how we can keep encouraging you through the ministry of Schoolhouse Rocked. It's not our ministry. It's the Lord's ministry. It's what He's called us to. And we genuinely want to encourage you and your family in any way we can. So please let us know how we can do that. So just to bring it back, because we've got to close this out. Pray for us, please. Yes. Pray for our family as we get this out. Pray for financial support. Pray for sponsors. Pray for just everything to fall into place that needs to fall into place to get this done as quickly as possible. And then sign up for the newsletter and share it with your friends. So that is what we need.
And one more thing, and please pray for the hearts of the people that are going to see this to already be softened. Amen. And to be ready and open to hear the message that's in this movie, because we really need to pray. We need to pray for parents. We need to pray for people that are on the cusp. We need to pray for people with questions that they're ready to hear when this movie's released. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. It's so interesting as we have watched our society unfold over the past couple of months, or I should say over the past year. We've realized that everybody wants to be part of something big. Mm-hmm. It's why people join and link arms with groups like Antifa and, people like that, because people it's not that all these people are so evil. It's that people want to be part of something that's making a difference. Now, some people are misguided and they're part of something that's making a wrong difference. But as humans, it's in our nature to want to be part of something that makes a difference. And so you guys really can be part of this homeschool revolution. You really can help make a difference, not just in the lives of your immediate family, but in the lives of people all around the world. I mean, we have people who listen to the podcast and follow us from all different countries. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And so be part of the homeschool revolution. And you can do that by doing those three things. Praying for our family, sign up for the newsletter just so you know what is going on, but pray for us, financially support. The way you can support financially, by the way, is going to schoolhouserocked.com, and you'll see a button on there that says donate here. Just click on that and you can make a tax deductible donation through that button, and then share with your friends. So that's how you can help get this out. So you guys, thank you so much. Abby, thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your excitement and enthusiasm with this movie. I'm so glad to be doing this ministry with you. God is so faithful. He is so good.
Well, part of me is slightly selfish that when people ask about homeschooling, I can be like, watch this movie and we'll go to coffee. So you did a lot of our legwork.
Nice.
So thanks.
Yeah. So you don't even have to tell them why they need a homeschool. You just give them the movie. Anyway, well, thank you guys for joining us this week. We love you. We pray for you constantly, and we are so grateful for all that you do and all of the support that you bring to us. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you back here on Monday with another great guest. Talk to you then. Bye.
Every year, parents just like you are discovering Classical Conversations, a vibrant, supportive Christian homeschooling program that's been equipping parents since 1997 with the resources, tools, guidance, and encouragement they need to homeschool their children with confidence and prepare them for a lifetime of success. Visit our website at classicalconversations.com to find a nearby community and learn more about homeschooling the Classical Conversations way. Classical Conversations, Christian homeschooling simplified.